Today I'm going to show you how to trim a brisket. So the first thing I'm going to do is what you just saw was you put a wet paper towel down on the cutting board so it's not going to get not going to run away from you and trying to put pressure on the brisket when you're trying to cut it up. So now I'm just doing the first initial cuts on this guy here, taking off the top, nothing too serious, and just kind of go down from there. Now, trimming a brisket is definitely a lot of personal preference. Besides right now, what I'm doing, that's kind of like a gristle material that will not render down, that won't cook properly on the smoker, so that's why I get rid of it. It's not gonna help you at all during the cook. The fatness on the brisket can help you. It can help it keep the brisket moist, keep the brisket nice and tender all the way through. But there's some fat in here that you don't want. That's kind of what I'm doing right now, trimming up the fat you don't want and leave the fat that you do want. It can get a little boring to trim these things up, especially on camera. So I got fast motion here. But now we're going to go for the bottom side here. I normally like to go for about a 1/4 inch thickness on the bottom for the actual fat cap itself. You can see there's a lot of loose ends and just pieces of fat that didn't get trimmed up when they packaged it up here. See, it's a pretty thick fat cap. You want to definitely trim that thing up. Don't want to leave that there. All that fat will not render out during the cook. We don't want to be chewing on an inch of fat or a ½ inch of fat when we're done with this cook here. We want the most a 1/4 inch, if not less. This is a pretty conservative trim, I would say, on the brisket itself. I have done a lot more trimming on a brisket. I have done a lot less too. And this right here, that's just pretty much just excess fat that won't help you. It won't help the brisket itself. So just go ahead and cut it off. It'll either burn up in the cook or just not render out. And when you're doing these briskets too, depending on what kind they are, you gotta make sure it's going to be nice and cold just out of the fridge when you're trimming this thing up. Otherwise, the fat might get kind of hard to cut with a knife, just based on the fat content itself. Now we're just about done here. It's gonna just kind of square off some of the edges. The small pieces right here are just gonna burn up and be dry, and then they come off the smoker. So that's where we'll get rid of them. That's some excess fat you don't need. Kind of skim off the top a little bit. You can see you kind of barely see that silver skin. We don't. If you can trim it off, go ahead. I try to trim as much off as I can without getting too crazy with it. And back to the bottom for the more fat cap trimming. Nothing too serious. And finally, do that little diagonal piece to help me out when I'm done, so I know which way the grain's going. If it's hard to tell, that helps me out. And this is pretty much it. Kind of just getting some more silver skin here on the right top of it to help it apply the rub. And you don't have to take this off, but if you can, go ahead. And there we have it. So here we have what it would look like before we started trimming it, and then here's what it's going to look like after. Pretty conservative trim. Just want to say thanks everybody for watching, and have a good day.